Hello everyone and welcome back guys to episode 7 of the Unnamed Motorsport podcast, where today Jamie and I are back once again ready to review the Spanish Grand Prix. Obviously, Spain, we weren't optimistic about this one pre-race weekend, but it delivered a better result than I think any of us thought, or a better race even I should say, than I think any of us thought it would. But quickly before we dive into that, I think I just want to join everyone else in saying a happy birthday for tomorrow to Jamie on the podcast. Now, it is his birthday tomorrow when this video goes live. So from all of us at the Unknown Motorsport podcast, aka me.
Yeah, all of us being just one person.
All of us being me, yeah, I want to say happy birthday. How are you getting on?
Oh, I'm good, yeah. University's almost finished. It's all looking good. F1's not as good as I hope it would be, but you know, it's okay.
It was better than either of us thought it would be. Something happened.
As a Verstappen fan, it's not as good as I hope.
yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But yeah, I mean, were you pleasantly surprised by the fact there was actually a race that happened, or were you still just sad and annoyed and angry?
It was good for 52 laps or so. I think it was basically made by the fact that Verstappen got Hamilton at turn 1. I think without that, it would have been absolutely dead. But yeah, it was okay. Yeah, so for Spain, it was about above average, definitely.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's what we've got to focus on as well. But obviously, like always, all the timestamps for the podcast will be down in the description below if you know there's sort of one key thing you guys want to watch from this video. But obviously, qualifying, it sort of spiced things up a bit. I mean, we've got to give a mention to Lewis Hamilton's 100th pole position as well. Not his greatest lap in the world, but certainly not a bad lap to claim your 100th pole, was it?
No, and I think he's unquestionably the GOAT of qualifying of one lap pace. I mean, arguably Senna's up there, but I think the number of poles that Hamilton got is just insane. It's like you take the second place, I think Schumacher's 68? Hamilton's got 50% more than that, which is like
pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, it is kind of insane now, isn't it? Yeah, I think for me still, and I think Hamilton would probably agree because obviously no one's ever going to save themselves, but the laps Senna was able to pull out were always incredible as well. Like, there was never a weekend where you felt Senna didn't get everything out of the car. But the fact Hamilton's been able to do it for so long as well is kind of insane.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, when you look at things, obviously I was watching some of his onboards and like, just how much he's changing around on the car as well. People like to go on about how like the cars do everything nowadays and things like that, but people seem to forget just how much he's constantly changing with the car as well. That is its own skill.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you could argue that it's a lot less raw and the car matters a lot more than it did back in the day, but you've still got to be the fastest driver, haven't you? He's beaten his teammate like how many times. And
it made me laugh as well, just a quick of a side note there. I don't know if you watched pre-race Brundle talking to Hamilton about like qualifying laps and things like that. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't see that, no.
It was brilliant, because obviously Brundle was saying like all these great qualifiers, you know, like for example, Sebastian Vettel liked to visualise the track in his head. Hamilton went, yeah, no, never really do that. And he goes, obviously some of the other drivers, you know, they spend a lot of time in the simulator. Hamilton goes, no, I spend 20 laps a year in the sim at most.
Brilliant.
And then they go, well, it was the likes of things like, obviously everyone does like track walks and things like that. It's just that they learn the circuit. Hamilton goes, yeah, no, don't do that. I don't need to.
Like, he could be even better, arguably. I mean, obviously he thinks
he just rocks up on a Friday and then decides he's going to go from there. It's insane.
He must think it makes no difference to him, but that is incredible.
Exactly. Either he's just completely at his peak, or if he did like the Verstappen strat of like hundreds of laps on the sim each week, how much quicker he could be. It's a dangerous idea, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway then, getting into the Spanish Grand Prix. Obviously, we had Hamilton. We have Verstappen on the front row once again. That's pretty much been the same every week. Obviously, a Red Bull and a Mercedes. Apart from last week. Yeah, apart from last week, yeah. And then even Imola was not the same too. Yeah. So it's kind of sometimes what happens, but other times not.
Well made.
It was well logic until we thought about it, and then it kind of hit the fan. But yeah, so we had Hamilton and Verstappen on the front row, separated by what, 0.03 of a second after qualifying.
Yeah. It was
I
think so.
Yeah, we're gonna say it was that anyway. Whether Jamie agrees it was or not. So obviously getting ready then for the start of the Grand Prix. Verstappen's generally been really good on the starts. Obviously, most notably, of course, was Imola. But I mean, last weekend at Portugal as well, he was all over the back of Hamilton down in towards turn 1. Was almost able to make a move work. So there was, I'll be honest, from me, as a Hamilton supporter, a little bit of anxiety there, seeing what Verstappen could do. And then by the time we got to turn 1, there was a huge amount of anxiety because Verstappen just sent it.
Yeah, I think he knew that the only opportunity he had to win the race was to take the lead into turn 1. If he was behind at the end of lap 1, he would have no chance of overtaking Hamilton, I don't think. So yeah. He was like so determined. He got absolute tunnel vision. Just like no matter how far back he is, he's going to send it into 1 and try and get the lead, which he did. To be fair, I think Hamilton was very respectful in leaving space. I thought it was a class move, but I can also see, like, if that happened to me in a league race, I'd have been absolutely fuming if I was Hamilton.
Yeah, so, and like I said to you pre-podcast, if Hamilton had done that to Verstappen, would you have thought it was a class move?
No, not at all.
No, exactly. Yeah, it was one of those ones where, for you, I'm sure you were on your feet because you thought it was incredible. For me, I was there like, if that had been the other way around, Verstappen would have just walloped him. Yeah. Like, there's no doubt about it. Now, I think the question's got to be raised, obviously, why Hamilton didn't defend more in towards turn 1. Whether there's some psychological stuff going on there. I mean, this time around, obviously, it worked out okay for Hamilton. I mean, if you're watching this, you're going to get spoilers anyway, let's be real. So, I mean, obviously, it didn't matter at the end of the Grand Prix. But surely there's got to be some questions going, next time round, get to the inside and just park it there and slam him out.
Maybe not Monaco, I don't think about that.
Even at Monaco, to a certain degree. I mean, you're on the inside already for the start, aren't you?
No, Paul has the inside at Monaco.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So you just stay on the inside.
Yeah, but that's a very unique situation at Monaco, isn't it? You're not really going to go for a move into turn 1. So
you'd be surprised.
Yeah, I
can't wait now. Just Verstappen, both front wheels locked up, straight into the outside wall at Sandoval.
It's a pile up at turn 1, red flag.
Oh, mate, Johnny Cecotto style. That's what I want to see.
No, I think that Hamilton almost knew that it wasn't worth losing a wheel over. Like,
yeah,
you can tell the Mercedes are very confident in their own pace, and you think Red Bull are a little bit more desperate at this track. So Verstappen was a lot more willing just to go for it and see what happens, whereas Hamilton noticed that he's got to play the long game a little bit. And probably has the pace to get back, which he did in the end.
Of course, yeah. And I think that's the thing, isn't it, as well, is 18 points is 18 points at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Hamilton, he's been here before. He knows to win world titles in battles with other cars that are again, we'll talk about it more, of course, in off week next time out. But Red Bull and Mercedes, I think we can both still agree, have on the right weekend both got a car that can win Grand Prix still.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I saw people going on like how Red Bull are way off the pace now, and just like that just isn't the case, is it?
It's like at most it's about a quarter of a second either way.
At most, yeah, in race pace. And I mean, over what, a 60-lap Grand Prix, that's 15 seconds.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Which, again, in Formula 1, obviously with dirty air and things like that nowadays, is so easily just able to be completely wiped out.
Yeah.
Like, quarter of a second a lap is nothing when in race trim. Qualifying trim, it's a lot. Race pace, it's nothing at all. So obviously, yeah, we got down towards turn 1. Verstappen absolutely sends it up the inside. Hamilton somehow avoids him. That, I think, must be mentioned as well, how Hamilton didn't end up making contact with him there.
I didn't go off either. I thought he was going to have to go
and
right.
He didn't go off. That was, because obviously it was, I think, similar vibes to like Seb in 2017, wasn't it? After he came out of the pit lane. Obviously, Seb forced him out wide. Luckily, it was like later on in the corner. They didn't have to go around the Marshall posts, if I remember correctly, because Grosjean tried to dob him in at Monaco or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hamilton didn't even run wide through turn 1. Then we saw we saw the two contenders for move of the day, didn't we? Verstappen's move at turn 1, and then of course Leclerc's absolute Fernando Alonso move around the outside of Bottas at turn 3. What a stunner that was!
Yeah,
that was like
insane.
a proper. That was like a move that you love as a racing fan, not as someone who is a aggression-loving fan.
Yeah, I think it's really clear to me that Leclerc is going to be on the level of Verstappen and Hamilton if he was in the right car.
He already is as a driver, in my opinion, yeah.
I think there's a few too many mistakes at the minute, but he's got like 3 or 4 years less experience than Verstappen has, which is quite weird to say.
Would you say that many mistakes this season?
Not this season, but there's only 4 races in. I think last year.
Oh, yeah, no, I can understand that a bit more. Yeah, sorry, I thought you meant this season. I was like, mate, he's done pretty well, let's be fair. Yeah. I'd argue so far Leclerc has been arguably the strongest driver. Again,
really?
that'll be...
I don't agree. But
No, actually, yeah, no, thinking about it, top 5, definitely.
Yeah.
But probably not the strongest driver as well. Again, that'll be discussed next week as well. So obviously we saw that move from Charles Leclerc around the outside of Bottas very early on. Then, as Spain tends to, it dies down very quickly. Everyone settles down into the order. Dirty air starts coming in. Tyre management starts coming in. Until lap 9, where Yuki Tsunoda's engine gets switched off by the engineers, as Jamie believes.
Do I believe that? I think you're making that up.
The conspiracy theorists were loving that.
It was a bit daft from Yuki on Saturday in the interview, definitely.
Yes.
I'm all for drivers actually having personality and not just going, oh, it wasn't very good today, we didn't have the pace, and then moving on. But saying that your car isn't the same as your teammates maybe is not the wisest decision, especially when Helmut Marko is your boss.
Helmut Marko and Franz Tost, yeah. But who, for me, Franz Tost can be summed up in the one thing he did, I think it was F1 2017, like the end of year interviews.
Yeah.
What are you going to do for Christmas? And Franz Tost went, nothing.
I'm not interested in Christmas.
I don't like Christmas. Yeah. Like, mate, you and Helmut Marko just must love each other. Fair play. Yeah. It really is, isn't it? Just grumpy old men moaning that Formula 1 isn't what it used to be and how there should be 14 deaths a weekend.
Wow, okay.
It basically, come on, mate. You both know that's what they think. Exactly. Tsunoda, unfortunately, the engine shuts down. That brings out an early safety car. We saw Giovinazzi in the pits. Very, very weird. Pirelli gave him tyres with no air in them somehow.
I don't know how they managed that. I think it's probably the first time that I remember that happening at all.
I think the first time I've ever seen it happen.
Which is a bit dodgy, really, because that's a competitor's race just ruined by things completely out of their hands. I guess you can say the same thing happens with like engines and stuff, but that's the actual manufacturer. Whereas Pirelli have a standardized part.
Pirelli meant to be that everyone's got. It wasn't great, was it?
And imagine
luckily,
it was lucky that Giovinazzi is pretty irrelevant anyway. But imagine that happens to someone at the front, like Verstappen or Hamilton.
You think some iconic title battles of the past, like 2016, Rosberg comes in, bolts on a new set of tyres, they got no air in them. Yeah. How dead is that going to be?
And Pirelli would be outed from the sport.
Oh, yeah, exactly. They'd be gone instantly. Yeah. Even if they did that to Ferrari now, they'd just be gone.
Ferrari have enough power to get rid of them. So.
Oh, exactly. But yes, obviously we saw Giovinazzi pit and then the Williams pit as well, and this is where things got spicy for a George Russell fan like myself. You were thinking, this is on. Points are on the board. Then we saw, so obviously safety car comes back in. We'd already had Pierre Gasly under investigation for an interesting start procedure. Jamie, as a Gasly fan, your thoughts?
I prefer not to speak. It didn't matter in the end. Well, arguably it did matter because he lost by a tenth to Ocon. But yeah, just a bit of a daft mistake, and he's owned up to it. But I think compared to his teammate, he still did a good job this weekend, despite missing.
Exactly.
His,
he got to the end of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't complain about unequal cars, so.
It's because he had the quicker one. If it wasn't, well, I mean, they were equal, so they had the same car, but still. Yeah, no, I think this is the other thing going back to Tsunoda as well. Like, there was so much hype for him pre-season, and so far, Bahrain he delivered, and then since then he's kind of just been very mediocre.
Yeah, he's out in Q2 twice in 3 now. Q1, sorry, twice in 3 races, which is not good.
Again, I think AlphaTauri now probably have the 6th or 7th fastest car.
6th, I think. Maybe arguably 7th, yeah.
Yeah.
So Gasly's doing well.
Again, we'll talk about that more on off weeks as well. But obviously, the race starts to unfold again. We see Hamilton really sticking to the back of Max Verstappen over the next few laps. And lap 25, things get spicy. Verstappen dives it into the pit lane.
Yeah.
And then, suddenly,
I thought you were going to get me to say something then.
I might have done. And then, unfortunately for Verstappen, there was a small mistake. Now, Red Bull have been absolutely mincing these pit stops early on this season. Wasn't the same at Spain, was it?
No, I think it was like 4.2 or something. It was quite a long stop for Red Bull standards. And that gave Hamilton the opportunity just to pit the lap after and get ahead. Because the gap was only a second and a half at most, I think, before.
Yeah.
So had Mercedes even done like a 3-second stop, he would have probably been ahead. So
yeah,
I thought that was going to happen, but then at the time,
well, I think they would have still needed a low 2, wouldn't they? Because obviously Verstappen would still rapid on his outlap.
But at the time, I was like, "Oh, that's great. Mercedes haven't just pitted because Verstappen will still have track position." But little did I know that Mercedes are a much better strategy team than I am. So yeah. So
obviously, then we get a new Formula 1 graphic as well. I think this needs to be mentioned. Nikita Mazepin brings us the very first team to
flag
FIA graphic. It was incredible. We've never seen it before. We may never see it again. But
I actually quite liked it.
FOM hate him.
Yeah, I thought it was very good. I hope we do see more of it.
Yeah, I would love to see more of that.
With like the more controversial stuff.
Yeah. You want to see Toto and Christian down to Michael Massey telling him he's... well, I mean, basically like Seb fans going about him on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get how, like, they seem to believe there's like 64 different head stewards every Grand Prix weekend. And they're going, oh, it's Michael Massey. He did this to Seb 4 years ago. Yeah. You're like, great. He does that to everyone. That's his job.
It's literally his job to enforce the rules. If you don't break them, you get a penalty.
Exactly. It's not that difficult to understand. But anyway, so obviously Verstappen in lap 25. Hamilton then comes in lap 29 in the Grand Prix. So obviously doesn't get the undercut on him. But he's not... I mean, he was what, like 6-7 seconds back after he came back out?
Yeah, it wasn't far. And he was absolutely rapid. He caught right
he
back
was
up to
flying on that set of mediums. Got right up to the back of Verstappen pretty much. And then 13 laps later, he comes in again. What were you thinking at that moment?
I think that... I don't know, it almost took the excitement away from the race for me, because in a weird way, obviously I'm a Verstappen fan, I want him to win. At that point, I knew that either Verstappen would just win because the strategy for Mercedes was bad, or he'd have absolutely no chance of defending because the strategy was really good. I don't think it was going to stay in the middle. So
yeah, well, we saw that at Bahrain. I think it had the slim potential too.
I was still slightly confident until Hamilton started going like 1.7 seconds quicker and stuff like this. So, yeah, I was thinking 2016 style, like, while Raikkonen was a bit quicker, he couldn't get past because of the nature of the circuit. But that Mercedes on fresh tyres was just so fast. I don't think there was a chance that Verstappen was going to defend. It would have been, what, like, was it lap 52 that he got past in the end?
Well, I thought it was later than that, to be honest.
But still, there were like at least near 10 laps left. I don't think it's going to defend for 10 laps.
It was lap 60.
Oh, really? It was quite late.
Yeah, it was that late on.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I was I was very disappointed, obviously.
Yeah.
According to the AWS as well, I think we'll come on to this. I don't know how much you believe these things, but I think they're actually fairly accurate usually. It said on the graphic that the lap after Hamilton stopped for the second time, Verstappen could have stopped as well and still been in the lead by like a second.
Yeah.
So if that was right, obviously the teams know a lot more than we do with the graphics. But if that was correct, in hindsight, you'd say easily they should have just pitted Verstappen straight away and done a two-stop with him as well, because the tyres really fell off at the end.
And this is what I wanted as well. But on the other hand, Bottas would have taken the lead.
Yeah,
and this is what I think everyone seems to have forgotten about. That Bottas would have had the lead and then just backed him into Lewis.
But
Red Bull, Bottas, again, were kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't.
And that's the problem when you've got one car fighting two. We've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
When Verstappen is trying to fight both Mercedes at once. It's just, it leaves Mercedes so much more
He
options.
needs Perez there desperately.
Yeah.
I mean, Perez again, we had conflicting things about what was wrong with Perez this weekend. We had shoulder injury to headaches to illness to pretty much anything under the sun. So again, we may never know what was wrong with Sergio Perez this weekend. But to be fair to him, he had a quietly okay recovery race. Yeah. If that had been Bottas, he would have been stuck in 8th all day. Yeah, as we found out in the first stint where he couldn't get past Charles Leclerc, who was going over a second slower than the Merc, and Verstappen at the front. But yeah, Perez, I mean, yeah, obviously after Lewis pit again, Perez was the next point to actually be had down with that banging move around the outside of Ricciardo down at T1. Move. Last of the late breakers, my bottom.
That's an interesting way to describe it, but
it's a family-friendly show.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it was a very good overtake, and it's surprising that it was on Ricciardo. To be fair, though, I can't actually remember the last time Ricciardo did like a ridiculously good late-breaking move. I think the last time he tried it was when he just binned him and Kvyat off in Baku last year or 2 years ago.
That was Verstappen.
No, it wasn't. That was Ricciardo. In the Renault on Kvyat in Baku.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of 2017.
You mean 18? He won it the odd.
Yeah, 18, yeah.
Too many years.
God, Baku, there's so many Grand Prix there, and like they all, because they're all carnage, they just all melt into one, don't they?
Yeah.
How can so many great races still not be able to be differentiated?
But yeah, Ricciardo, I don't know, maybe he's lost his touch on the brake pedal, but
I think the Red Bull's just incredibly good under the brakes back then because it was incredibly stable. It has so much aero and no power.
But very good move from Perez. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't finish 4th in the end. I think Leclerc was well clear.
Leclerc was comfortable when he... Like, Leclerc, again, has such a quietly underrated weekend for
He almost got
people.
a podium, actually. When Bottas pit at the end, he was actually behind Leclerc. So he was like 5 laps from a podium.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, again, Leclerc, in my eyes, probably was the second best driver, I want to say.
In the race?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could argue. I don't think Verstappen did that much wrong, but...
No, I don't think Verstappen did that much wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think it would be very, very close between Leclerc and Verstappen for me. I think, Leclerc came like 4th on the driver vote, didn't he, though? And I thought, that's a bit unfair.
Mazepin came 4th. Come on.
Did Mazepin come 4th? I thought honestly, I thought Mazepin came 3rd. That's why I said Leclerc 4th. That's
was good.
Top quality meme. Mazepin was good, was he?
No, not Mazepin. He was trash.
No. Rather unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so obviously we saw Perez go around the outside of Ricciardo, and then we get the not the FOM team radio, but we get the team radio going, Hamilton is faster than you. Yeah. And Bottas just doesn't listen. And this is where, again, the race for me, I was like, this is all going to go away. Bottas is going to get dropped. It's going to be carnage. It's going to be a talking point for the rest of the year. That random guy on Twitter that for some reason I see all his Bottas tweets is going to be really happy or sad. I never really know. Bottas just doesn't get out of the way. They're like, mate, what are you doing?
Strange. He had what? It must have been 30 lap fresher tyres for Hamilton at that point. Something like that.
20 odd.
And Bottas still wants to cling on to the hope that he's in a title fight. But he only just got past Norris this race in the championship. So I think even the most optimistic Bottas fan knows that he's not winning the title this year.
Yeah.
He's probably not coming second in the title this year, let's be fair.
No.
And it's a team sport. Hamilton was going for the win. In the past, Bottas has been willing to let Hamilton through when he's going for the victory. It was just... He thinks he's Rosberg, and he's just not. He's bad.
It's so weird, isn't it? Because, like, some weekends, like, Bottas is just there, like, happy to play the number 2. And then you get, like, 3 weekends a year where he's... Like, well, you get 2 weekends a year, basically the Russian Grand Prix and one other random one, where he suddenly becomes God tier.
Yeah.
You get about 3 Grand Prix a year where he's able to match Hamilton. And then you get another 3 Grand Prix a year where he's nowhere, but he still seems to believe he's got what it takes to match Hamilton.
Like, he's been in Mercedes, what, 5th season now in Mercedes?
Yeah.
And he's never even got close to beating Hamilton over the course of a season. So how does he think he's going to do it
The closest he was his first year.
Yeah. And that was because Hamilton had quite a poor year by his standards.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Bottas is deluded. I can't wait until Russell's in that seat.
It's going to be great when Russell gets that gig, innit?
Yeah.
It's going to be brilliant as well. But obviously, the race, I mean, we're getting towards the end now, final 10 laps or so, and Max Verstappen, the gap's still coming down. Jamie's crying, hiding behind a cushion. I'm getting amped up, hoping obviously, Max doesn't do anything dodgy like he did lap 1. And I'll be honest, it was a bit anticlimactic. We didn't sort of get like this battle that I kind of hoped for, but I think Verstappen had kind of accepted his fate at this point of the Grand Prix. Obviously, weaves a little bit down the front straight. That seemed to be a common thing all weekend from people. Not too sure what that was all about. I mean, it won't really happen at Monaco anyway, but there was a lot of weaving to try and break the tone, which shouldn't be going on.
They showed Norris black and white, so hopefully if that continues, they'll calm it down.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously Max weaves down the front straight away on lap 60. Hamilton gets clean around the outside before turn 1. Again, as a Hamilton fan, I was really happy to see that move, but it wasn't mega. But again, it's the Spanish Grand Prix. You're never really going to get too much.
The impressive thing was just how close he was able to stay in the last sector. Because we saw in the first stint with equal age tyres, and the second stint as well, Hamilton was close, like within about a second, and then would gain 4/10 or so down the straight with DRS, but then the time on lap, whatever it was, 50 or 60, I don't know, he was like literally about half a second through the chicane and through the last sector, which is just really impressive, just how much more pace the Mercedes had to be able to follow that closely.
Yeah, so obviously Hamilton pits... Hamilton gets past Verstappen even, I should say. So obviously Max then pits to try and claim the fastest lap back off Valtteri Bottas.
Which he did.
This was the question I was going to raise as well. Bottas pit for fastest lap bonus point, which he was taking off Lewis, which then allowed Max Verstappen to take the fastest lap bonus point off Bottas. Where was the logic there?
That's a good point. Though I think Perez also pit, so... But they pit Bottas so early as well, wasn't it?
They pit Bottas like the same time Hamilton got past Verstappen.
Yeah, it was about lap 60, which gave so many opportunities.
It really did make no sense, because he would have been still within the DRS, still within the pit window of Verstappen. Verstappen couldn't have pit if Bottas had stayed out.
I don't know.
This is a couple of times we've seen this now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, this is what we look back at Silverstone last year. Silverstone race 1. Where Verstappen pit right towards the end, and then Hamilton got a puncture, but he was still able to win it. They're like, questionable? Should Red Bull...
You feel like the teams get a lot of tunnel vision on 1 point. I mean, I know it can make a difference, but if you just win the race, you gain like a net 14 points over your rival rather than a net 1.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't know. There's a lot of focus on the 1 point, and the bonus that comes with it, with cash for the driver.
Is there a bonus?
Yeah, there's always a fastest lap bonus. You remember when they did the checkered flag too early, and in Canada that year, and Ricciardo got his fastest lap taken off him, and it went to Verstappen, and then the team didn't give Ricciardo his bonus.
Oh, mate. I thought it was more of a joke, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, there will be in all the contracts, won't there? But yeah, I mean, as the race starts to unfold, then obviously we see a couple of people go for fastest lap. I think we all knew it was going to be Verstappen who gets it at the end of the day. I think the last notable thing that really happened was just the carnage at the back of the top 10.
Very strange.
Even now, I don't really know what was going on there. Can you explain it to me?
I think there was a Haas in there, which was always fun.
Lap down, I'm guessing.
1 lap down, 2 laps down. And then there was the 5 cars. I think it was Alonso, Stroll. I think Russell was still chilling around
Russell
there.
was 11th with like 3 to go. I was like, oh my god, this is happening.
Raikkonen and Gasly was there, and I think Vettel was still clinging on to some sort of hope at that point.
I think Vettel had dropped back.
Or maybe he had. I don't know. But there were 5 cars racing. There was a Haas a lap down and Bottas a lap up. So it was an absolute carnage, and he was going like mental through the chicane. But Gasly managed to do a banging move on Raikkonen around the outside of turn 12, the long right-hander.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. And then
I did see that one. That was a good move.
Yeah, Gasly came back from like 16th with about 10 laps to go or something, and ended up getting 10th place and almost getting 9th actually. I think Alonso dropped from 10th to 17th within like maybe 5 laps. It was insane how the drop.
Yeah, but no, they pit him again, didn't they? They pit him again right at the end as well, I think.
And I don't know if you saw it, but Ocon as well was having a good race. I think he was up in 7th ahead of Sainz and Norris.
Yeah.
Until they both did a 2-stop and he was on 1, and then he fell off at the end as well. But lap 61, Norris passed Ocon, the same lap as Gasly passed Stroll for 10th, and there was a 20-second gap between Gasly in 10th and Ocon in 9th with 5 laps to go. And then because of the difference in strategy, the gap at the end was a 10th of a second in 5 laps. So
it's mad, isn't it?
The tyre drop off. I love seeing it. It's like 2012 all over again. 2011 with the Pirelli tyres.
Yeah,
we don't see it often.
It is one of the things, isn't it? Of like, that's one of the only decent things about the Spanish Grand Prix still, is just due to the nature of the Pirellis at the moment. That gamble between the 1 and the 2 stop is like the only thing that can create some interest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so that was, of course, I don't think there's anything else really to discuss from the Grand Prix itself, unless I've missed anything. Like from the actual race.
I think that's everything. I can't think of anything.
Yeah. A couple of other notable points, I think, to discuss, of course, was Lando Norris, just a very quiet weekend. We've sang his praises in the first 4 races.
The McLaren didn't quite have the pace of the Ferrari this weekend.
I think Ferrari was comfortably the quicker car this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But Lando just messed up qualifying. He started P7 in every race up to now, and then he started P9 this weekend.
It's strange when he's been finishing top 5 every week, and he's still starting low. But
it was a solid one. He's made it work, hasn't he?
He still finished 8th, and I think if you told him at the start of the year that 8th would be a bad race for him, I think he'd have probably taken that.
Exactly. I mean, it's still early days.
Yeah.
8th might now be a blessing by the end of the year. But McLaren's still, the only team to have scored points with both cars at every race.
Wow, that is impressive.
Which is kind of insane, isn't it? After just 4 Grand Prix.
Mm.
I mean, you look at what Mercedes 2019, they got 7 1-2s in a row.
Yeah, 8. No, it wasn't 8. It was 8 wins.
No, it was 6, I think, wasn't it? Because Monaco wasn't. Because Verstappen. Vettel got between, didn't he? In the end. But yeah, so I mean, now we'll look at the final race results then. Any other things to note there? I mean, only 7 cars on the lead lap, but that's not too surprising around a short lap. Obviously, especially around a track like this. Other notable results?
Raikkonen did alright. He was good.
Raikkonen did alright, considering how bad his strategy seemed to almost play out.
Yeah, he was on mediums.
He took those mediums. Yeah, the mediums just went forever for whatever reason. And then, of course, Alonso with a really disappointing result there. Notable as well, I want to give to Carlos Sainz. He's still maintained his record of scoring points at every Spanish Grand Prix he's done.
Yeah, and considering some of the equipment he's had is pretty good going.
Yeah.
Like the Toro Rosso wasn't always a good car, but...
No, exactly. It was his best qualifying of the year at Spain, wasn't it, in that Toro Rosso?
Yeah, he qualified 5th. Really good stuff. back in
Mega
2015.
man.
Wow, that's a long
2015.
time
Yeah, it's a long time ago, and it's mad that you think Verstappen was racing then.
Yeah.
And he's still basically a child, which is worrying. But yeah, anything else to discuss as like a roundup then, Jamie? There's we've got plenty to talk about in the off race next week, or the off week.
Off week.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Monaco next time out, which will be fun. Hopefully Verstappen can win.
I can't watch the race live, so
that's gonna be
I'm gonna have to watch it back on Channel 4 and try to stay awake, which is certainly going to be very, very good fun at the end of the day. But anything more to add about anything, or
I want to say that I think I did better predictions than you this time, because I went for Ham-Ver-Bot and you went for
Ham-Bot-Ver.
Yeah, exactly. So I was right.
Yeah, you did. Fair play. You were desperate to get that in, didn't you?
It's really the hardest podium to ever predict when they've only finished.
Exactly.
They've finished on it 16 times now.
Exactly. So, right, let's do that then. Predictions for Monaco.
I hope something
top 3.
mental happens. I really hope.
You're going to go Mazepin, George Russell.
I'll go Verstappen winning.
Yep.
This is going to be not that mental. Verstappen, Perez, Hamilton.
You reckon Red Bull are going to be that OP, do you?
Well, they have been in the past. I think they'll either be really OP or both cars will crash out.
Have they been that OP in the past?
I mean, 2018, they were comfortably the quickest car and managed to win with 100 million horsepower less than it should have had.
Yeah, but it was also Seb in a Ferrari.
Well, let's put that tax on there. That will annoy everyone.
Right, so you're saying that then. I am going to go... Right, if you're doing that, I'm going to go the opposite way then. I'm going to go Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen.
Brilliant.
Yep. Second week in a row. I'm also, as a side prediction, Russell's going to get a point.
Really?
Yeah, I'm saying it now.
I'll go Mick Schumacher is going to get top 15.
Wow.
Just because there's going to be a few DNFs.
What a prediction!
You thought I was saying points then, but I thought
I didn't think you were that mad, but yeah, that is a prediction that you have made. I reckon both Williams are probably going to both Haas, are probably going to stack it.
Yeah,
at some point.
The slightest gust of wind in the car will just pivot.
Exactly. Exactly. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video. Like we said, make sure you wish Jamie a happy birthday down in the comments below as well. And yeah, we will be back, like we said, next week for the Monaco Grand Prix preview. Looking forward to it again is a bit strong, but if it delivers more action than we thought Spain would, then we're in for a treat.